Recently, I made a video talking about the importance of infusing brand into product design, because if visually things look super different on the marketing site compared to inside the app or software itself, it makes it a lot harder for a tech company to build trust. Today, I want to share with you the end-to-end approach that Dropbox takes to its brand to ensure that all touch points are covered and that things stay consistent. This is a clip from a recent interview I did with Liz Gilmore, who is the executive creative director at Dropbox. So here's Liz explaining how they structure their work and team into 3 pillars of what a user sees, how they buy, and then how they use the product.
Brand at Dropbox is really important, as well as critical to the business. And we really approach, our brand first and foremost end to end. We also believe that you can only really truly unlock not only the power, but also sort of the impact and reach of a brand through that end-to-end consistency. So really thinking holistically. I wanted to take a pause just to clarify what I mean by end-to-end.
Please.
Because that means a lot of things to a lot of people. When we think about end-to-end, it's really a customer-centric way to approach the expression of our brand. So it really should be providing a cohesive, consistent, and thoughtful experience for our customers from the first exposure to the brand into how they learn and evaluate it and buy it, all the way to how they use the product and even return to it. We believe that a user-centric, flexible, but also opinionated brand and identity system is a really key part in upholding that integrity. So, we really think of it through the full customer journey and really not individual surfaces, but many interconnected surfaces for brand expression. In fact, our user research done maybe a couple years ago now showed that an inconsistent or fragmented brand experience for a customer can really erode user trust. And as you know, we have really high brand equity and awareness, and we would never want to erode that trust with ideally a solvable solution with a stronger system.
Yeah. And so what I think is amazing is first of all, everything you're saying, I'm sure everyone nodding along is yeah, this makes sense. You want the brand to be consistent. But where I feel like you've gone a step further at Dropbox is not just, focusing on the work of this as a brand, making sure that you're covering all the points. You've structured the team around this as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So early of last year, we took an opportunity to really restructure our design team. So we have this new identity system that we really use this framework of end to end. So, how we see things out in the world, how we buy our products, and how we use them. So we created a system that really thought about this holistic journey. So naturally, we wanted to also reflect our team structure and how we work to really mimic that methodology. That also gives us really good touch points to the entire organization as well, and ensures that all surfaces are really being accounted for when we think about the creative that we're putting out into the world. So within my team, I have, I'm sort of the executive creative director on the team. I have a layer of associate creative directors that really look over those different work streams, and then sort of me as an umbrella to make sure that it's consistent across all of those. So we use a framework called See by Use, which is kind of a user-first way of orienting ourselves within the brand. So, C is usually our louder, more brand-forward marketing and advertising moments. Buy is primarily our website, our purchase journey, how people sort of educate, consider, evaluate, and buy our product. And then obviously onboarding into the product and how we use. So we sort of divide our team into leads that are domain experts within See, Buy, and Use. And then our designers are actually fluid. So, while they have a domain expert as maybe their direct manager, their skill sets for their own personal growth need to be pushed by trying out different surfaces and sort of expanding their skills. So the redesign of our design team, yes, mapped to the structure of our business. But what's great is it also mapped to growth development for our team. So it was a very people and business first approach to how we could better situate the impact of our team. When we think about C, or I like to call marketing or advertising, those are really sort of their charter is, consistently show up in culture in the world at large. So that's a lot of advertising, that's a lot of marketing, that's a lot of really pushing the brand forward. So the way that we think about the brand in relation to that is that's going to be your much more brand forward moments, a lot more colorful, a little more experimental. We really rely on a lot of our advertising to expand the contours of our brand and help us evolve it, because they're constantly uncovering new ways to play with our toolkit. Within web or sort of buy is primarily all of our websites, plural. So we have a lot of websites. We don't just have Dropbox.com. We have a lot of other different interconnected surfaces. And then, so, a lot of our web designers, our interactive designers, that's their wheelhouse.
Yep.
And then, interestingly, we also have an entire team dedicated to our brand and product, which is a very unique role and specialized role for our team. Usually they have a product design background or they map to a product design role, but they really index high on visual design as a product designer. So having a lot of that design systems thinking that's essential to product design and scaling a system, but also with sort of the art direction and visual eye for understanding how to bring in key brand elements into the product. In my past, there's always been a really big disconnect between a marketing website and the product, usually because of org structures or just like siloing. And that's a pretty glaring gap for a user when they experience this really beautiful and storytelling and like a lot of graphic elements when they go to a website, and then they log into the product and it's not the same colors or the same typeface. You're like, wait, where did I go? So that's like a really important part of the user journey for Dropbox as a brand.
And those people, the designers who work on that, sit within the brand team, but they have that product experience.
Yeah, they're actually, I think half of that, well, the lead for that team, or the ACD, is a product designer. But she does report into me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So she's still within our team, but she definitely indexes higher or has skills within product design that really kind of give that superpower for that particular sort of vertical.
I've spoken to designers at around 18 different companies now, I think, as part of Inside Marketing Design. And this is the first time that I've heard about this end-to-end approach or like terminology. I think it's super smart. And I especially love how Dropbox adjusts the brand expression for each of those different pillars. I feel like I often see this between the marketing side and inside the product, but Dropbox takes it a step further by having this see, buy, use. You can watch my full interview with Liz over on the Inside Marketing Design channel. I highly recommend you go and do that because she shared loads of great stuff. I learned a lot from it and I know you will too. I hope you found it interesting though, just to hear this clip about their approach to brand, and I'd love to hear in the comments if this is something that maybe from hearing it you want to apply at your company. And if you're on a smaller team like I am, how are you going to make that happen? Because that's something that I am still thinking about and trying to figure out myself. All right, I will slide over now and leave you to go watch the full interview. Go on. Click right there. I'll see you over there.